Hello everyone. So the Dark Age supplement for the Rules Brethren covers quite a large length of time, a long length of time. It includes factions in there for armies such as the Mongols and Saracens, feudal knights, bandits, which you could have in any time really, but suitable for something like Robin Hood. So it's a very wide time period, but sort of limited in a way in terms of the factions that it includes. But there is a very useful faction builder, custom faction, a couple of pages which gives you guidelines on how to put together your own faction if it's not one that's included in the supplement. So I thought, why not give it a try on my Genpei Wars figures, which the Genpei Wars were wars at the end of the 12th century that occurred in Japan, principally between the Taira clan and the Minamoto. And it's contemporary with, say, the Mongol period, so it shouldn't really be an issue creating a faction. And I found that it worked really well. I mean, obviously all the weaponry is different from that in the sort of points list of the rule supplement, but it wasn't too difficult. For instance, the katana sword, the Japanese samurai, as far as I know, never used shields. I mean, possibly they did very early on, but the katana sword was actually used both defensively and aggressively. So it was the equivalent of a sword and shield combined. So I've simply given the combined points total of a sword and a shield to a katana, and given the benefits of both the defense of a shield and the added attack bonuses that you get from a trained warrior using a sword, which you would have in the say an Anglo-Saxon or a Viking force. And again, a lot of the faction abilities and faction orders difficult to cross over to feudal Japan. So things like shield walls and boars snouts and things don't really work too well. But there are plenty of others, like the cavalry abilities. I forget what they call it now, but there's an ability, trying to look it up here while I'm to organised cavalry, one of the faction abilities, which is perfectly suitable for it's suggested as an ability for the Normans in the rule supplement, but it's perfectly viable to use that sort of thing for the cavalry forces on either the Minamoto or the Taira side. Lots of other things like that, which I'll go through when I'm going to give you a little Batrep on a game on this mat here, which is a Tiny War Games mat. I won't go into an aside on the issues with Tiny War Games at the moment, but there's if you go to their website, you'll see there's a lot of litigation and a new owner, and it's not possible to buy their products at the moment. Enough on that anyway, that's away from the point. But I thought I would use this mat. I've placed some of my really old buildings on it, and it's essentially the scenario is going to be an attack by the Taira clan on this temple area, and defended by warrior monks. The warrior monks mainly sided with the Minamoto during the Genpei Wars. Let me take you a little bit closer to the figures so you can see what I got set up. Okay, so there you can see 3 cavalry figures. This is the Taira side. So I've got 3 mounted samurai armed with katanas, and then I've got the combat hero, who is armed with, he's on foot, but he is armed both with a katana and a bow. Now, this again is sort of something that is different from the European wars at the time, that the bow was a very important and sort of noble weapon for the samurai at this time. So I don't see a problem. I'd like to sort of stick to the what you see is what you get philosophy of the rules, and this command figure, as I say, does have both a katana and a bow. I don't see a problem with it sort of functionally, because it's quite reasonable to assume that he sheathes his sword whilst using the bow, and it gives me an opportunity to give him a lot of, or give the whole faction actually, a lot of bow related speciality type abilities, whilst maintaining his elite kind of status. So again, the faction building element of the rules worked out quite well. Next to him there is a support hero who is an inspiration specialist, who's armed with a katana and a standard, and then I've got 8 other figures, all sort of differently armed. Some have got the really large Nodachi sword, which I'm treating in a similar way to the Dane axe. Some are armed just with a single katana, and some have got a katana in both hands, which again, a second-hand weapon, is catered for in the rules, so I think it's going to work quite well. Now I'll show you the warrior monks. Okay, now the warrior monks are a little bit more straightforward. They're all dismounted, and they're either armed with bows or with naginata. Again, the naginata I'm kind of giving the attributes of a Dane axe to. So you've got the combat hero here. He is a command specialist. Oh, that was the thing I should have said about the Taira combat hero. He is a range specialist, so as I say, he has got additional abilities when shooting arrows and so on. And then in front of the combat hero here, there are 4 monks armed with bows, and then a little bit further up the table in the deployment zone, there's a group of 4 monks with naginata, and back down this side here, 5 monks with naginata. But you may have noticed already that on the table over here are another 4 monks armed with bows, and I've put them there because the faction as a whole has an ability called ambush, which allows up to a quarter of your warriors in an army to deploy outside of the deployment zone, but at least 12 inches away from the enemy. And I've put them there because, as I say, I'm going to try and use the features on the terrain map to represent actual kind of terrain. So this whole area here, I'm treating as impassable. So it's an impassable lake. I know it was probably more likely to have been an ornamental lake, but I'm going to make it impassable to make the mat a lot more interesting. But there are plenty of little streams coming off it, which are just going to be obstacles. But over those streams, and indeed over the lake, there are stepping stones and fords and bridges and so on, which will allow the figures to move over them without being hindered by obstacles. So I'm going to play the all-out war game again. So each side has to reduce the other side down to 20% of its starting strength to win the game. And I'll get going with the first moves and then show you a little bit more of the table and how the figures are moved, so on, in a moment. Okay, so halfway through the movements, and the situation at the moment is that the Taira command hero is about to loose some arrows at this group of warrior monks over here before they get the opportunity to return the favour. And I'm going to immediately use his once per game ability, because he's a range specialist, of being able to target 3 enemy units. A unit is just a single figure rather than 1. And he has a +2 bonus to his dice rolls. So I'll show you how that works first of all. Right, so to begin with arrow fire, you just roll 2 dice. So the white dice is the monks, blue dice are the Taira, and that's the first attempt failed, because even with the +2 bonus, the monks win that roll. So there are 2 more to go. This time the Taira are successful because they get +2 bonus. So now to wound, I just have to roll higher than the monk's defense value, which is 3. So I've got to roll 4, 5 or 6 and a fail. And then the third attempt, and again the bonus makes that a success, and again 4, 5 or 6, and again fail. So not good news for the Taira. So we're back over to the warrior monk's turn, and they are immediately going to use their faction order, which is volley. So this can be used any number of times, unlike the Taira ability that they've just wasted. So essentially you pick one target unit. So they're going to pick the standard bearer, and then all 4 of this group can fire. Normally it's 1 unit at a time, alternating turns, but all of these bow-armed warriors here can now shoot at any figures that are within 6 inches of that nominated figure. So they're going to roll 4 dice, and the Taira only get, and they add +1 to that dice roll, and the Taira only get to roll 1 dice in return, which I don't think is, it's not modified in any way. So clearly if the Taira roll badly, then this could be quite devastating. Okay, so +1 to the white dice. Oh, that's lucky for the Taira, they've rolled a 6. So none of that volley hit. Okay, I probably made an error there, which is, so it's just as well that there were no casualties as a result of it. But the faction order volley is an order, and orders can only be issued by combat heroes. Therefore, there would have had to have been a combat hero nearby to issue an order to that group of archers, and there wasn't. So I made a mistake there, but nothing. There was no error as a result of it. So I'm just going to say that each of that group of 4 archers had used their turn and failed to hit, firing individually. I keep saying firing, but that's the wrong word when you're talking about loosing an arrow, shooting an arrow. So apologies for my poor grammar. But over here, you do have a satisfactory situation where there's a combat hero adjacent to 4 archers there. So they are going to loose their arrows at this group of 3 mounted samurai here. See if they can do better. So it's +1 to the white dice. Oh, and this time, yeah, a lot more hits. In fact, all of them hit. Because it's +1. Okay, so the mounted samurai have a defense of 4. This is partly because they're all armed with katana, and it is kind of, I don't know if it's mythic or not, but as I was saying earlier, I'm treating the katana as though it were a shield defensively, and there are stories of swords being used to deflect arrows and so on, so I'm going to go with it. So they've got these 4 successful dice have to beat a defense value of 4, and one of them does. So there is 1 wound on one of those cavalrymen. So we'll say the one at the front. They each have 2 health. Because they're on horseback. Had he been on foot, he would have been killed. So that's the end of the first turn. No contact, so there's no combat, but all of the missile firing that could have taken place as missile shooting, missile loosing has taken place. So we're on to the second turn. Okay, the monks have priority, so they are immediately going to attempt the same thing again. Another volley order from these 4 figures here onto that group of 3 mounted samurai. So I've got to beat 4. So even adding 1, that doesn't beat 4. So there are 2 successful rolls, needing to beat defense of 4, and we fail with both. All of the Taira figures have been moved now, so it's just up to the warrior monks to complete their moves, and none of these 4 archers have been activated yet, so they can fire individually. Fire, I keep saying fire, I'm just going to have to carry on with my mistake. They're going to shoot at individually, starting with the target of the combat hero at the front there. Okay, so no bonuses or anything like that to any of the dice, and they win that one, so they have to beat a defense of 5, so they need to roll a 6 in order to wound him. And they do, yeah, so that's 1 wound. He's got 3 health, so he needs another 2 to kill him. Again, they win that one, but fail. 3rd one, they win, but fail. The fourth one, I'm not going to say that's cocked, I'm going to say that's a 5. So 1 wound on the combat hero. Over here we have our first combat, because all 3 mounted samurai are now in contact with the warrior monks. So we'll start here with, there are 2 warrior monks armed with naginata fighting a samurai on horseback armed with a katana. So both the monks and the mounted samurai have 4 attack dice each, but there are 2 monks against 1 there, so it's 8 attack dice against 4. The mounted samurai has +1 to hit because he's a experienced swordsman, so he gets +1 bonus to his dice. Right, so it's +1 to the blue dice, so those 2 2s go up to 2 3s. The 3 goes up to 4, and the 4 goes up to 5. And the highest that the warrior monks have is a 5 there as well, so this, all that dice rolling just ends up with those 2 dice being re-rolled. Again adding +1 to the blue dice. And again, that means that they're equivalent, so we re-roll them again. And this time the warrior monk wins, so he has to now overcome the defense of 4 on the mounted samurai. So this will kill, if I get 5 or 6, this will kill the samurai as he already has 1 wound. No. Okay, and then onto this combat here. So it's a single monk against a mounted samurai, 4 dice each, +1 to the samurai's roll. You can't go higher than 6, but that goes up. That 5 goes up to 6, and the highest that the monks have rolled, the monk has rolled, is a 5, so those 2 6s are successful hits. And the monk's defense is 3, so 4, 5 or 6 will kill him because he's only got 1 health. And there's a 6 there, so that's the first casualty of the game. And the last combat of the turn, similar thing. 1 monk against 1 samurai, 4 dice each, +1 to the samurai's roll. Okay, so the monk has a 6, and the highest the samurai is going to get is a 5. So 1 successful strike for the monks this time, and have to overcome a defense of 4. And we do, but again he has 2 health, so he's just received a wound. Right, so if there is a figure within 6 inches of the Taira's combat hero, and there is just, that is just 6 inches there, then the Taira can nominate that figure and any within 6 inches of him, so those 4, to each individually take a morale check. They all have a morale of 9, so I roll 2 dice, and if I exceed 9, then the figure leaves the table. I've got 4 checks to make. First one is okay. Second one is okay. Third one is okay. Fourth one is okay. So on to the next turn. Okay, so a lot of combat going to take place in this turn now. I've moved all the figures. As you can see over here, The samurai have managed to make contact with those bowmen, archers, monks armed with bows, but luckily for them, some of the monks armed with naginata have managed to run into contact as well, so that they're supporting them in their fighting. So we'll have to resolve that in a moment. But over here, the monks with bows didn't have a target, so they have just moved forward onto what is sort of a sort of mini island, I suppose you could call it. And over here, the reason they didn't have a target is that all those mounted samurai are now in melee with the monks, so you risk hitting your own side if you shoot into a melee. So I decided not to risk it. So over here it's pretty straightforward. There's just 3 monks with naginata, each individually fighting a samurai on horseback. So it's 3 identical fights. So we'll resolve those first of all, starting with the one in the distance there. Okay, so it's 4 dice against 4 dice, plus 1 to the samurai roll. So there are some 6s there rolled by the warrior monks, so nothing else is going to be able to match those, so we just have to re-roll all those dice, adding plus 1 again to the blue dice. And now the monks have done very well, or the monk has done very well. So got to beat a defence of 4, I believe. Yep, 4. So 5s or 6s will, in this case, kill him because he's already got 1 wound. But we fail to. Right, second conflict, the one in the middle. So again, highest the monks have got is 5, so that 4 will go up to a 5, so there are 2 dice on each side that we have to re-roll. Oh no, hang on, got that wrong. There was a blue 6 there, so the blue 6 wins overall, so that's 1 successful hit. And the monks' defense is 3, and we only get a 2. Okay, and then the third fight. Oh, you know what I was forgetting to do previously was to pull the if you lose a melee and aren't killed, you pull back an inch. So I haven't been doing that so far, so we'll have to do that in a moment. And the third fight, 2 successful hits for the monk. Trying to beat a defence of 4, and again we fell. Over this side then, it's a bit more chaotic. We'll start with the fight that's going on here. So essentially the samurai leader is fighting this monk with the bow and this monk with the naginata, and that monk with the naginata is supported by another monk with the naginata behind him. So the samurai's rolling 4 dice plus 1s to hit. The monk with the bow is rolling 2 dice minus 1 to hit because he's fighting essentially with a knife or something like that. So I'm rolling 7 dice for the monks, 4 dice for the samurai. Okay, so we'll roll the 4 samurai dice first, adding plus 1. So 6 remains at 6, 4 goes up to 5. 2 goes up to 3. 1 goes up to 2. And then we'll do the 2 dice on the minus 1 next. So 3 goes down to 2. negating that roll of a 2 from the samurai, and then these 5 dice are all just no modifiers. So there's a 6 there, so immediately we can discount everything else now other than the 2 6s that were rolled, 1 on each side, and re-roll those. +1 to the blue dice. Still fails to win though, so the monks have come out on top there, so they have to beat a defence of 5. No. So I think I am going to allow the samurai to squeeze out through a gap there. He's not exactly withdrawing, so he's moving in the opposite direction from the one he charged in from, but I think that's a reasonable thing to do. Okay, and then here we have same number of dice from the warrior monk's point of view, but this samurai here is armed with a no dachi, which has 4 attack dice, but no modifier to the dice roll. Okay, samurai roll first of all. We'll just put those to one side. The highest they've got is a 5, 2 4s and a 3. Okay, and then the 2 dice at -1, that comes down to a 5, and that stays at 1, and then the 5 dice are modified. Right, there's a 6 there, so that trumps everything else. So the warrior monks have got 1 successful hit, and the defence they have to beat is 4, and they fail again. And once again, I think it's reasonable to allow, just show you, I think it's reasonable to allow this samurai here to squeeze out an inch this way, but now there's a fight going on here between a samurai with another nodachi and a warrior monk with an naginata, and if the samurai lose this, they will definitely not be able to pull back because there's just room for 1 figure. All these figures are sort of squeezed in along between the edge of the lake and the building. So hopefully the samurai will win this to save some confusion. So straightforward, 4 dice on each side, no modifiers. And there are 2 6s there, no 6s on the Taira side, on the warrior monk side, so 2 successful hits for the samurai. And he has to beat a defence of 3, and does it, so the monk is killed. Taking that figure off the table because that's the end of the combat phase now. So that means that the warrior monks have to take a morale check again. So nominating a figure 6 inches from the Taira hero basically means that all those 8 figures each have to take a morale check. They've all got a morale of 9. So I'm going to roll the dice off camera, just indicate the each figure with my finger. So he rolls 7, so he's okay. He rolls 3, so he's okay. He rolls 10, so he dies or runs away. He rolls 8, so he's okay. 11, oh dear. 6, 12, and 5. So not a good turn for the warrior monks. Next turn, warrior monks have one priority, so they are immediately, before the opportunity slips past them, they are going to use the volley order from this hero here for these 4 archers to shoot at the opponent's hero there. So it's 4 dice against a single blue dice, adding +1 to the white dice. Right, well, you can't increase above 6, which means that has failed, because nothing can beat the 6 that the Taira rolled, so that's opportunity lost there. All the movement completed, so it's just the combats to resolve now. One of those bow-armed monks there did get a chance to shoot at another samurai, but again missed. So there's a bit of combat to resolve over there, but we'll start as before with the fighting here, because it's pretty straightforward. It's just 1 against 1 3 times, each side rolling 4 dice, but the Taira adding +1 to their dice roll. So we'll start with the furthest one. Right, well, the warrior monks have only rolled 5, so that doesn't beat the Taira 6 there, and also that 5 gets +1, so that goes up to 6, meaning 2 successful hits, needing to beat a defense of 3, and this time we do it, so that monk is killed. Okay, now we'll go on to here. So same again, 4 against 4, +1 to the blue. This time the warrior monk has got a 6, which means that 5 has +1 added, so it's 3 dice to roll off again, +1 to the blues. Again, 2 6s matching. Monk is putting up a fight, and he wins it, so it only goes up to 2. Right, so he has to beat a defense of 4, and he fails. So the mounted samurai has withdrawn an inch, and then we've just got to resolve the fight just at the foot of the bridge there. Same again. The highest Taira is a 3, so that would become a 3, which means that all the others are successful hits. So this isn't good for the monks. 3 rolls against the defense of 3, and 2 kills, so that kills that monk as well. This is pretty confused fighting here now, so let's just try and sort it out one by one. So we'll start here with the samurai combat hero fighting this monk with a naginata, so that's pretty straightforward. So the naginata is 4 dice, and the combat hero is 4 dice as well, +1s to hit. Oh, a lot of 6s there, so even adding 1 to those 2 3s doesn't get them up to 6. So we've got 2 dice against 2 to re-roll, +1s to the blue, and this time there's 2 successful hits there, needing to beat defense of 3. Yeah, so that monk is killed as well. Next up here we have a samurai with a no dachi fighting virtually defenseless now monk who is just fighting with some sort of knife type weapon. So it's 2 dice for the monk on -1 and 4 dice for the samurai with the Nodachi. So that 5 goes down to 4, meaning that 1 blue 6, blue 5 there wins. Oh, hang on. Yeah, no, it doesn't get modifier, so that 4 wouldn't go up to 5. So it's just 1 successful hit, trying to defeat a defense of 3, and it does. In case you're wondering, the monks with bows have got the equivalent armour to the monks with naginata, because underneath that clothing they all did have lamellar armour, so they're equally well armoured, but it hasn't saved the monk in this case. He's killed. Right, so he dies, and then it's the same here, except this time I think he's fighting with a katana this time. I think I call that a katana. It does look quite long, but it's not long enough to be a Nodachi. Okay, so 2 dice on -1 for the monk, and 3 dice for the 3 dice for the samurai with the katana, +1 to hit. So those ones can't get reduced any lower. So all 3 of those win. So again, trying to beat defense of 3. Yeah, here's another dead monk. And then just beside them here we have samurai with a Nodachi against a bow-armed monk who'll be fighting with on a -1. So it's 4 dice for the Nodachi against 2 dice on a -1. So absolutely everything beats that 3 because it goes down to a 2. So 4 successful hits, trying to beat a defense of 3. Yep, another dead monk. And finally, there is a samurai with a katana in each hand. So he has 3 dice +1 to hit, and he can re-roll 1 of the dice because he's got two weapons, 1 in each hand. 3 dice, yeah, +1 to hit, and the monk armed with the naginata has 4 dice. Right, so the monk with the naginata has got a 6. So everything else doesn't apply, but we can re-roll 1 of the blue dice to try and get a 6. No. So it's 2 dice +1 to the blue, and the opportunity to re-roll it if it had failed, but it hasn't. So it's 1 successful dice against the monk. Fails to beat his defense though. Well, that was quite a disastrous turn for the monks. They lost 6 dead in that turn. Don't think, the Taira clan haven't lost any dead at all yet. And yet the points were quite balanced. I mean, maybe I have overpowered the katana. Maybe I should have said that the +1 defense was only in sort of close-up fighting and not against missiles, but can always think about that for a future game. But anyway, the warrior monks will be compelled to take a morale check, but this is the only figure within 6 inches of the hero, so just have to roll 1 pair of dice and get above 9 to remove him from the table. No, he's safe. So now next turn we roll for priority, And the monks have got to hope that they win this. No, they don't. So the Taira go first. So the Taira have just moved this figure back into contact with the monk here. So now the monks are going to try that volley firing again. And this time they have a few more figures in their range because they're going to select the hero, but anything within 6 inches of him is eligible as a target. Okay, so +1 to the white dice. Yeah, even though the Taira rolled well, they didn't roll well enough. There were 3 hits there. So I think the thing to do is to once again to try and kill the yeah, I think we'll go for trying to kill the combat hero first of all. So I need to get another 2 hits on him to kill him. He's already got 1 wound, so we have to beat the defence of 3. So the first dice, no, we need 6 essentially. Second dice, no. Third dice, oh, that was so close to a 6, but no. Maybe that was a wasted roll of the dice. Maybe I should have shot at the less heavily armoured samurai. I don't know. But anyway, it's done now. Well, it's looking pretty desperate for the monks now. Single one left over here. He's fighting against 2 samurai supported by another. And then over here, 2 of those mounted samurai are now fighting against the leader. And then you've still got a tiny bit of fighting going on over here. So we'll start by resolving this one, I think. So this is 4 dice against 4, +1 to the Taira blue dice. So monks have got a 5, which means those 3 4s go up to 5. So we re-roll all those. And this time the monks have got a 5, but the highest the samurai have got is a 4. So the monks have won. So they have to beat a defence of 4. And again fell. Okay, then we'll resolve this fight between the warrior monk leader and the 2 mounted samurai. So each samurai gets 4 dice +1 to hit. The warrior monk leader has 5 attack dice, no modifiers. Okay, so there are 2 6s there, which the samurai have to match, and because it's +1, the 6 and the 5 do match it, so we've got 2 dice on each side to re-roll. And this time that 5 goes up to 6, so that wins. Okay, so the monk has a defence of 4, and they get a 5, so he takes 1 wound, but he has got 3 health, so he's not killed yet. Here we have a monk with a naginata against 2 opponents supported by 1 other. So the monk has 4 attack dice, and well, I think we'll have to do all these separately. The samurai with the 2 katana has 3 attacks +1 to hit, but he can re-roll 1 of those dice. So let's do that first of all. Right, so the 4 monk dice don't get any modifiers or anything like that, so we'll just put those aside for one moment. So there are 2 4s, a 2 and a 1. Right, and then we'll start with the samurai with a katana in each hand. So he gets +1 to these. So there's a 6 and a 5 already. Sorry, a 6 and a 6, because it's +1. Already beating the monk's 4s, and we can re-roll 1. So essentially what we want to get is 4 or higher, because the 4 will go, 4 would go up to 5, but that's another 6. Then we have the single supporting samurai, just an unmodified roll of 1 dice, another 6, and then 4 dice for the samurai with the nodachi, again no modifiers. Wow, all 4 of those are successful, so there are 8 successful dice in total, trying to beat a defense of 3. So unless there's a miracle, I can't see the monk surviving this. No, killed many times over. No morale check this time, because there aren't any enemy figures within 6 inches of the Taira leader, but things are looking pretty dire for the monks now. They only have 6 figures left on the table. When they're down to 3, they've lost the game. But they have just 1 priority for the next turn, which means this might be foolhardy, but they're going to have another go. The leader's just around the corner there, so he's going to give a volley order to these 4 to shoot at the Taira commander again. Oh, once again, it's rolled really well. So no hits from that either. Right, so once again, quite a lot of confused fighting, but the Taira have managed to reach that row of archers now, so they're fighting in hand-to-hand combat from now on, so they won't do very well out of this. But I think we'll start with the fight here between 2 mounted samurai and the monk leader. So it'll be 5 dice against 8, adding +1s to the samurai roll. Okay, so highest that the monk leader has got is a 5, which means 5s and 6s are successful hits, because you add +1 to the blue dice, so there are 3 successful hits there. Trying to beat a defense of 4. No, so he gets pushed back again. And here we have 2 samurai, one with a katana, one with a nodachi, fighting against a monk with a bow, so he's going to be 2 dice on -1. The nodachi is going to be 4 dice, and the katana is going to be 3 dice, but +1s to hit. Okay, so this is the nodachi and the monk's roll. So 2 1s, couldn't get any worse than that, could it? You can't reduce it down, but even with the -1 roll. So all of those beat him. And then the 3 dice with +1. Well, they're all going to inevitably beat it, aren't they? Because even if they roll a 1, that will go up to 2. So there are 7 successful hits this time against the defense of 3. Yeah, again, killed many times over. And then we have the Taira commander against another monk with a bow, so that would be 2 dice on -1, and the Taira commander has 4 dice +1 to hit. So lots of 6s here. Oh no, there isn't, because that 6 has -1, so that goes down to a 5. So there are 3 6s there that are successful against the defence of 3. And again, that 6 is sufficient to kill him. Right, now we have the monk with a naginata against the mounted samurai with a katana. If the monk is killed, the game is over, because that will leave 3 monks on the table. And I mean, this is just extraordinarily one-sided. Let's talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So 4 dice for the monk. I think it's 4 dice for the samurai as well, with +1s to hit. I'll just check that. Yeah, 4 dice +1s to hit. So 4 and 4. Right, so the highest that the monk has thrown is 4, and that 4 goes up to a 5, so there's 3 successful hits here against the defence of 3, and again he's killed, so that's game over. So let's just do a little quick summary. So, as I say, extraordinarily one-sided. Not a single casualty on the Taira side. A couple of wounds inflicted, but that was about it. It suggests to me that I have overpowered the katana, maybe. My philosophy was that it was, instead of using a shield, the samurai also use their katanas as defensively as much as aggressively. So if I gave the katana the equivalent points value of a sword and a shield combined, that would compensate for that. But thinking about it, it does give it gives you the opportunity to do something else with that second hand if you're not using the katana as a two-handed weapon. But then again, you know, this is a similar issue that I have with the Dark Age figures, that the rules are meant to be what you see is what you get, and if a figure is represented with a sword in each hand, what do you do about that? I think also there was the element of poor strategy on my part in the way that I split the monks up, whereas the samurai moved in 2 very kind of cohesive groups, the cavalry on one side and the rest of them on the other. So, and also the tactic of placing some of the bowmen alongside what I thought would be a difficult obstacle to cross the lake was unlucky in the end, that didn't work. So combination of all those things. I think the next time I play this, I will make the katana slightly less powerful, in that I won't allow it to add +1 to the defence for ranged attacks, only for blows from close up. So, you know, so hits in combat rather than hits from missile fire, and see if that has, you know, results in a more balanced game. But at the end of the day, again, I think as with that Saxons versus Viking game I put up recently, I think, was it the white dice again? I think it was. Yeah, it was the white dice that rolled really badly. because the Saxons were blue dice in that game. So maybe it's down to an element of luck as well. But anyway, I enjoyed it. I hope you did. It shows that what a versatile set of rules Brethren is. I think they are very good at in games where the fighting breaks down into individual one-on-one fighting, as I've said before. Not it's intended to be a skirmish game, and this was at the low end of the size of game that you could play. So you can have a lot more figures on the table, but the figures tend to be more individuals rather than working as groups with discipline and drill and so on. So it suits periods and styles of fighting where that is at the fore rather than the more drilled fighting aspects of, say, I don't know, something like a samurai game set in the age of the countries at wars in the 17th century, where you have a lot more units firing muskets and in cohesion and so on. I don't think it would work for that, but this period, ideal. So it's possible to take the wolves across the other side of the planet and fight games set in medieval Japan. So thanks for watching, everyone. See you in the next video. Bye for now.